He was seconds from dying, and his only hope was a stranger behind the hotel desk. Could she save him and uncover a dark secret that could ruin powerful men? The bass from the club reverberated through the walls like a heartbeat, thick with smoke and the smell of spilled alcohol. Bruno Sinclair, normally the center of attention in any room, felt his body collide with something brutal. Fists rained down before he even registered what was happening. A group of men, faces shadowed, surrounded him. The last thing he remembered was the terrified glance of a young woman being shoved toward him. He staggered back, clutching his ribs, gasping. "Get away from her," he yelled, his voice cracking. But the thugs only laughed, their leader, Marcus Vale, stepping forward with a smirk that promised no mercy. Bruno felt a sudden, heavy blow to his temple. Darkness flickered at the edges of his vision. The world became a blur of pain and neon reflections. Somehow, he managed to stumble out of the club, blood dripping down his temple. The night air hit him like a shockwave, cold and unforgiving. He barely made it to the hotel entrance, the revolving door spinning him into the lobby. Panic rippled through him. He knew he wouldn't last long if help didn't come now. Selena Hart, sitting at the reception desk, noticed him immediately. Her calm green eyes widened, but she didn't hesitate. She leapt from her seat, moving with precision and authority. "Sir."
"Sit."
"You're safe now." "I'll call for help," she said, guiding him to a plush chair. Her hands were steady, even as the adrenaline in the air made every second stretch painfully long. Bruno's breaths came shallow, rattling. He whispered, almost to himself, I have to stop them, catch them." His words were broken, desperate, a plea, a last wish he feared he would never see fulfilled. Selena's heart tightened. She had dealt with emergencies before, but something about this night felt different. Something darker than just violence. The hotel lobby felt impossibly large, yet claustrophobic. Patrons had either fled or frozen, unsure of how to react. But Selena's presence was a beacon. She moved with efficiency, pressing the panic button discreetly under the desk, while keeping her eyes on Bruno. "Stay with me. Help is coming," she said, her voice a mix of calm and command. Every second stretched like a lifetime. Bruno's eyes flickered to Selena's, a mix of fear and determination reflected in them. "You can help me," he rasped. He didn't know her, but instinct told him she was the only lifeline between him and death. And in that moment, Selena understood. This wasn't just a medical emergency. It was the start of a dangerous mission, one that would pull them both into a world neither of them could have imagined. The distant wail of sirens grew louder, blending with a thumping bass from the club. Selena gritted her teeth. Tonight, she realized, wasn't about hotel check-ins or polite smiles. It was about life, death, and the fragile line between justice and chaos. She didn't know yet how deep she would go, but she knew this man's last wish would not be ignored. Selena's hands didn't tremble, though her heart raced. She guided Bruno to a quieter corner of the hotel lobby, lowering him gently onto a velvet armchair. Blood stained his crisp white shirt, and a gash on his temple glistened under the hotel's soft lighting. Around them, the lobby had become a surreal stage. Shocked guests, scattered luggage, and the faint smell of spilled drinks mixing with antiseptic from the cleaning staff. "Stay with me," Selena murmured, pressing a clean towel to the bleeding wound. She called the front desk security, instructing them to block all hotel exits. The adrenaline in her veins was sharp and clear. She wasn't just tending to a wounded man, she was stepping into the storm that had followed him here. Bruno's eyes fluttered open, pain etched into every line of his face. They'll come for me," he whispered, voice hoarse. He tried to sit upright, but Selena held him gently. "No one's coming in. No one's leaving. Just focus on breathing," she said, her voice steady, almost hypnotic in its calmness. He nodded weakly, trusting this stranger who had appeared at the exact moment he needed help. Selena noticed the tremor in his hands, the faint trembling of his jaw. She realized he wasn't just physically injured. His mind was racing, haunted by fear and guilt. "You're going to tell me everything," she said gently, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. Start from the beginning. Bruno's story came in fragments, each word dragging him closer to exhaustion. He spoke of the club, the attack, the young woman, Lily, harassed by thugs, and the brutal blow that nearly killed him. His voice cracked as he added, "I have to stop them, they can't hurt anyone else." Selena listened, her mind racing. She wasn't just a receptionist. Tonight, she was a lifeline, and perhaps the only one who could turn his last wish into reality. The lobby felt suspended in time, a bubble of urgency within the hotel's normal rhythm. Selena pulled out her phone, texting discreetly, "Medical emergency, high risk. Police needed immediately. Maintain discretion." Every second was precious. Every movement could tip the scale between survival and catastrophe. She glanced at Bruno, whose breaths were shallow, eyes flicking nervously toward the entrance. Suddenly, the lobby door rattled. Selena stiffened, a chill running down her spine. "Stay here," she whispered, moving toward the entrance with measured steps. Two uniformed officers appeared, flashing their badges. Relief washed over her face, but she kept her guard up. "He's injured. He's stable for now," she said, guiding them to Bruno. Bruno's eyes followed Selena, a mix of gratitude and urgency. You can help me, can't you?" he whispered. Her gaze met his, steady and unwavering. "I will," she said. "We'll stop them. I promise. But first you have to survive." In that moment, a silent pact was formed. She would not look away, and he would trust her with his life and his mission. As the officers stabilized Bruno, Selena took a step back, scanning the lobby. Something about the way the attackers moved, their precision, the way Bruno had described them, it didn't feel random. Someone had planned this. And if she wanted to help him fulfill his last wish, she would need to uncover the layers of a dangerous, hidden world. The night outside remained relentless. Rain-slicked streets, neon reflections, distant sirens, but inside, in that quiet, tense lobby, a plan began to form. Selena was no ordinary receptionist, and Bruno's fight had just begun. The first step toward justice was in her hands, and neither of them would turn back. The hotel lobby was quieter now, but the tension lingered, thick as fog. Selena sat beside Bruno, bandaged but still pale, her mind racing. Something didn't add up. The attackers hadn't seemed random. The precision of their assault suggested planning. Whoever they were dangerous, connected, and getting closer with every passing second. Selena's fingers hovered over her phone. She didn't just want medical help, she wanted information. Calling the local police directly could tip off the attackers. Instead, she dialed a private line, a trusted contact from a past security job. "I need everything you can find on Marcus Vale. Any known associates, locations, or recent movements." Discreetly, she whispered, glancing at Bruno. Bruno, his hand trembling slightly, asked, "Do you think I'll survive?" His voice was raw, haunted by fear and guilt. Selena placed a reassuring hand on his arm. "You will. But first, we need to know who you're up against. If we act too soon, we'll fail, and they'll come back stronger." Her tone was firm, calm, but threaded with urgency. A series of beeps interrupted their conversation, an unknown number. Selena glanced at the screen. A text flashed, "Stop digging or he dies." Her stomach twisted. They were watching. Every move they made was being monitored. But she didn't flinch. Instead, she quickly captured the message, analyzing it for hidden clues. Someone wanted to intimidate them, but Selena was already thinking 3 steps ahead. Bruno's eyes widened. "They know we're here," he whispered, voice barely audible. Selena shook her head slightly. "They suspect, but they don't know our plan yet. We need to gather evidence. Quietly, smartly." Bruno nodded, the faintest spark of determination lighting his eyes. He wasn't just a victim, he had a mission. Selena began checking the hotel's CCTV system. Cameras captured every corner of the lobby, the entrances, the elevators. She traced the path Bruno had taken, looking for anomalies, a shadow, a repeated figure, anything that could hint at Marcus Vale's network. Hours passed, and the data slowly painted a dangerous web around them, a map of threats they didn't fully understand yet. Suddenly, a grainy figure appeared repeatedly on camera, a man in a hoodie, lingering outside the hotel multiple times in the last hour. Selena froze, recognizing a pattern. This was no coincidence. The attackers had scouts, someone feeding them information about Bruno's location. Her mind raced with solutions, contingency plans, and escape routes. Bruno's hand brushed hers. "You really think we can stop them?" His voice was hesitant but carried hope. Selena met his gaze, unwavering. "I don't just think it. I know it. But we have to move carefully. One mistake, one reveal, and it's over." She paused, letting the weight of the night settle in. "And we don't have much time." Selena knew she couldn't rely on just instinct. She needed allies, information, and strategy. She sent an encrypted message to her contact. "Prepare surveillance team. We move in 24 hours. Discreetly. Lives at stake." Bruno watched her, all mixed with relief. For the first time, he realized that survival didn't just depend on money or influence. It depended on courage, brains, and the unexpected strength of a stranger at a hotel desk. Outside, the rain lashed against the glass doors of the hotel. The city was alive with motion and danger, a web of neon lights and dark streets. But inside, a quiet resolve had formed. Selena was no ordinary receptionist, and Bruno's mission was no ordinary request. Somewhere in Manchester's night, Marcus Vale and his men were plotting. But Selena was already plotting back. By the end of the night, Bruno rested for the first time since the attack, his last wish whispered into Selena's determined ear. Catch them at any cost. And she accepted, silently, knowing that tomorrow, the hunt would begin. The first light of dawn seeped through the hotel's glass facade, casting pale streaks across the polished marble floor. Bruno stirred in the armchair, his head throbbing, every movement a reminder of the night's brutality. Selena sat nearby, reviewing the CCTV footage once more. Her eyes were sharp, scanning for the smallest inconsistency, any clue that could lead them to Marcus Vale and his men. The bell above the door chimed. Detective Inspector Owen Clark entered, a tall, imposing figure in a long trench coat, his expression both skeptical and curious. "I'm Detective Clark," he announced, flashing his badge. "I've been called in regarding an assault. Am I too late?" Selena rose, standing protectively beside Bruno. Bruno winced as Clark approached. "No," he rasped, voice hoarse. They were after someone. The girl. I tried to stop them." Selena exchanged a quick glance with Clark. She realized immediately that this case wasn't going to be routine. The detective listened, nodding, but his eyes betrayed caution. "We need statements, names, any details. Every bit helps." Selena pointed toward the CCTV monitors. "Look here," she said, highlighting a hooded figure who had lingered outside multiple times. Clark leaned closer, squinting at the grainy footage. "Interesting," he muttered. "This wasn't random. Someone wanted to track him. And they've been watching for a while." Bruno's hands trembled. I thought I could handle it myself," he admitted. "But they were too strong, too organized." Clark nodded gravely. "You did the right thing coming here. But now it's serious. Whoever did this isn't just some random thug, they're part of a network." Selena felt a thrill of both fear and determination. They had to act fast, or it wouldn't just be Bruno at risk. Clark's gaze shifted to the hotel's security logs. "Anything unusual last night?" he asked. Selena led him through the footage, pointing out shadowy figures, repeated loiterers, and the moments when the attack seemed to begin outside the club. Clark's eyebrows knit. This is more than just a street fight. Someone's planning, observing, coordinating. Selena noticed something else, a tiny detail overlooked by the police, a reflection in a lobby mirror showing a man's tattooed arm, a signature mark often seen in gang circles. She froze. "Detective, look at this," she whispered. Clark leaned in, squinting. "That could be Marcus Vale's mark," he said, voice low. "If so, he was closer than we thought." Too close. Bruno swallowed hard. If they find me again. His words trailed off, heavy with fear. Selena's voice was firm. They won't. We're not going to let that happen. We'll catch them, but we need evidence, strategy, and speed. Clark nodded approvingly at her resolve. He realized this receptionist was more than just an observer. She was a vital player in the investigation. Selena then suggested a bold plan. Track the thug's known associates, trace movements via CCTV and club contacts, and coordinate with the police for a discreet sting. Clark raised an eyebrow. You're serious? Selena's gaze was unwavering. If we don't act, they'll strike again, and next time, it might not just be Bruno. By mid-morning, the trio had laid the groundwork for an investigation. Every detail counted. Every loitering figure, every reflection in glass, every whispered clue. Bruno's strength was returning slowly, but the night's horrors lingered. Selena realized that fulfilling his last wish would not just require courage, it would require intelligence, precision, and nerves of steel. As the city of Manchester bustled outside, the quiet hotel lobby became the nerve center of a high-stakes hunt. And somewhere in the shadows, Marcus Vale was already aware that his prey had survived, and that a receptionist and a detective were closing in on him. The game was no longer just about revenge. It was about survival, justice, and a promise whispered in blood. The hotel doors swung open with a commanding force, and Richard Sinclair entered, a man whose presence seemed to bend the room to his will. His tailored suit was impeccable, his gaze sharp as a blade. He took in the scene, the bandaged Bruno, the tense receptionist, and the detective reviewing surveillance footage. Anger radiated from him in waves, like the heat from a furnace. "Father," Bruno tried to speak, but his voice faltered. Richard's eyes softened momentarily, then hardened as he knelt beside his son.
"Who did this?"
His tone was equal parts fury and fear. Selena watched silently, aware that she was witnessing a powerful man's paternal instinct collide with a dangerous underworld. Clark stepped forward. "Sir, your son was attacked by a known thug network, led by Marcus Vale. We're coordinating a discreet investigation." Richard's eyes narrowed. "Discreet," he echoed sharply.
"No."
"They'll regret crossing my family. Every resource I have will see them behind bars. Every last one." The sheer weight of his authority hung over the lobby like a storm cloud. Selena felt a shiver run down her spine. She had handled emergencies before, but she'd never witnessed raw power like this. Richard's words weren't idle threats, they were promises. And promises from men like him carried consequences that could change lives, even end them. Yet she knew that, in her own way, she had to keep Bruno's trust and guide him safely through the chaos his father's wrath could unleash. Bruno looked between his father and Selena. I just want them stopped captured," he rasped. Richard's face softened again, a brief flicker of pride showing. "And they will be, son. But you," he paused, his voice low, "you need protection. Selena, I want her by your side. No one else." Selena's heart skipped a beat. The task was growing, but so was her role in Bruno's mission. Richard's phone buzzed. He read a message, his eyes narrowing. "They know we're mobilizing. Marcus Vale isn't just a thug, he's smart, connected. He'll anticipate moves. This will be dangerous." Clark nodded gravely. "That's why discretion is key. But we have a plan forming." Selena realized that the stakes had just multiplied. It wasn't only about revenge. It was about survival against a ruthless, calculating enemy. Bruno shifted slightly, wincing. "I don't want anyone else hurt because of me." Richard's expression softened again, a rare tenderness showing. "That's why Selena will stay with you. You've already survived one night. Now we ensure it's the last night they get the upper hand." Selena nodded silently. She knew this wasn't just about protection. It was about strategy, intelligence, and anticipating a dangerous adversary who wouldn't hesitate. As they spoke, Selena glanced at the hotel's entrance, calculating possibilities, noting exits, and imagining the streets outside. Marcus Vale's network could be anywhere, waiting, watching, planning. And now, With Richard Sinclair involved, the situation could escalate into a citywide hunt. Every decision had to be precise. Every second could tip the scales. Richard turned to Selena, his gaze sharp but approving. "I can see why my son trusts you. I need you both alive and informed. This is no longer just an attack. It's a war of information, speed, and precision. Are you ready?" Selena straightened, determination blazing in her green eyes. "I am," she said. And in that moment, she felt the weight of responsibility settle firmly on her shoulders. The morning sun fell across Manchester's streets outside, casting long shadows into the hotel lobby. Inside, a plan began to form, a strategy to track Marcus Vale, anticipate his moves, and fulfill Bruno's last wish. But danger lurked in every corner, and both Selena and Bruno understood. This mission would test courage, intelligence, and the limits of trust. Night had fallen over Manchester again, the streets slick with rain and neon reflections. Inside the hotel, the lobby was quiet but tense. Selena stood near the large glass doors, phone in hand, scanning the city outside. She had decided that waiting passively was no longer an option. Marcus Vale's network wouldn't sit idle, and neither could they. She returned to the security room, reviewing the footage frame by frame. The hooded figure from the previous night appeared repeatedly, sometimes outside, sometimes near the alley behind the hotel. Selena noted patterns, times, movements, and even the figure's interactions with unknown men. Each small detail was a breadcrumb leading toward the larger web of danger. Bruno, now recovering enough to sit up properly, watched silently. "You're really doing this?" he asked, awe and concern mingling in his voice. Selena gave him a small, confident smile.
Yes.
"If we wait for the police alone, we lose the advantage. Marcus Vale isn't sloppy. He plans everything. We have to be smarter." Bruno nodded, a newfound respect forming for the woman who had saved him and now hunted his attackers. Selena tapped into the hotel's guest logs and security cameras, cross-referencing names with known gang activity in Manchester. Every clue she uncovered added tension: a deliverman who lingered too long, a maintenance worker whose tattoos matched surveillance reports, and the recurring appearance of luxury cars associated with Vale's network. A sudden ping on her phone drew her attention, an anonymous tip about a nightclub known to be frequented by Vale's men. Selena's pulse quickened. She sent a discreet text to Detective Clark. "Nightclub surveillance. Possible Vale contact. Coordinating with police." Clark's reply came almost instantly. "Proceed carefully. Backup en route." Selena and Bruno moved cautiously to the hotel rooftop, scanning the nearby streets. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, and the glow of neon signs reflected in puddles. Every shadow, every movement, was a potential threat. Selena's sharp eyes caught a man slipping into an alley, tattoos partially visible, confirmation that Vale's scouts were already moving tonight. Bruno's voice was low, almost a whisper. "Do you think we can catch them before they strike again?" Selena's reply was calm but firm. "We don't just catch them, we anticipate them. And tonight, we start that game." Her words carried weight, a promise that action had begun. As Selena set her plan in motion, contacting informants, arranging discreet observation, and marking points of interest on a map, she realized the stakes were higher than ever. Marcus Vale was dangerous, yes, but his arrogance could be exploited. If they were smart, meticulous, and daring, they could strike first. By midnight, Selena had a list of key players in Vale's network, times of activity, and potential weaknesses. Bruno rested nearby, but his mind was racing, ready to act when the moment came. Outside, Manchester's night whispered promises of danger, but inside, in a quiet hotel room filled with monitors, strategy, and determination, the first moves had been set in motion. Selena leaned back in her chair, eyes narrowing at the screens. The hunt had begun. Marcus Vale wouldn't know it yet, but a receptionist and a recovering billionaire's son had just become his worst nightmare. The city streets of Manchester were slick with rain, neon signs reflecting in puddles as Selena moved silently through the night. Her phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Clark. Suspect spotted near Whitworth Street. Approach with caution. Selena's heart quickened. Every step outside the hotel felt like stepping into a trap, but the lead was too valuable to ignore. Bruno insisted on staying behind, insisting he couldn't risk being seen again. Selena understood. He needed to recover, but he trusted her completely, a responsibility she did not take lightly. "Be careful," he whispered, his eyes betraying fear he tried to mask. Selena nodded, determination blazing in her gaze. "I always am." The lead took her to a dimly lit alley near the club district. Shadows stretched long against the brick walls, and the faint echo of footsteps made her heart pound. She spotted a figure she had been tracking on CCTV, a hooded man slipping into the darkness. Selena followed at a distance, careful to remain unseen. Her training, instinct, and razor-sharp focus guided every movement. Suddenly, the man stopped, sensing something amiss. Selena froze behind a dumpster, holding her breath. He turned sharply, his eyes scanning the shadows. A small bead of sweat ran down her temple. One misstep could expose her, and put her, and ultimately Bruno, in danger. The night felt alive, watching, waiting to see if she would slip. Selena noticed another detail, a tattoo on the man's wrist, partially visible, matching Marcus Vale's known gang insignia. Her pulse quickened. She had confirmation. This was one of Vale's scouts, feeding information about Bruno's location. She took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. She needed evidence, but she also needed to stay safe. She snapped a discreet photo with her phone, careful to remain hidden, then tried to retreat. But the man's attention snapped back, suspicion in his movements. Selena ducked behind a metal trash bin just as he stepped closer, the tension unbearable. Her pulse thundered in her ears. One step forward, and she would be discovered. Seconds stretched like hours. The man muttered something to himself and finally moved away, disappearing into the night. Selena exhaled quietly, adrenaline flooding her veins. She had the lead she needed, but the close call reminded her of the stakes. Marcus Vale's network was always watching, always one step ahead. Returning to the hotel, Selena met Bruno in the security room. "I have proof," she said, showing the photo on her phone. "This scout works directly for Vale. We know they're still active and they're monitoring tonight." Bruno's eyes widened. "So, they could strike anytime?" Selena nodded.
Yes.
"But now we know how they operate. That gives us an advantage." Selena's mind raced. This lead had given them direction but also danger. They had a scout to track, a network to anticipate, and limited time to act. Marcus Vale wouldn't wait. Neither could they. And for the first time, Selena realized this wasn't just about protecting Bruno, it was about stopping a predator before he struck again. The night had tested her resolve, but Selena knew one thing. She would never let Bruno's last wish die. The hunt had begun, and Marcus Vale's shadowy network was about to meet a force they hadn't expected, a receptionist with courage, brains, and a relentless drive for justice. The hotel room was dimly lit, the glow from monitors casting long shadows across the walls. Bruno sat hunched in a chair, fingers clutching the armrests. Selena stood nearby, eyes scanning the latest footage, but her attention kept drifting to him. She could sense the weight he carried, the guilt, fear, and anger buried beneath his bruised exterior. Finally, Bruno spoke, voice low and broken. "I should have protected her.
Lily."
"I tried, but I failed." His eyes glistened with tears. Selena moved closer, kneeling to meet his gaze. "You didn't fail," she said gently. "You survived, you saved yourself, and now we can stop them. That's what matters." Bruno's hand shook. "But what if I can't? What if I make it worse?" Selena reached out, placing her hand firmly over his. "Then we make it right together. You don't have to carry this alone." For the first time, he seemed to relax slightly, the tension in his shoulders easing. Trust had begun to form, a bond forged in fear and necessity. Selena pulled up a map of Manchester on her laptop, tracing the scouts' route from the previous night. Here's what we know. Vale's men are organized, predictable in some ways, arrogant in others. That gives us an advantage. We can predict their next moves if we plan carefully. Bruno leaned in, fascinated despite his exhaustion. Bruno took a deep breath.
I want to see them pay for what they did.
I don't care about the risk. Selena met his gaze, firm and unwavering. Then we'll do it smartly. You stay safe, we gather evidence, and we act at the perfect moment. No heroics, just strategy. Bruno nodded, the spark of determination in his eyes now matching hers. Selena glanced at the CCTV footage again. Patterns emerged. The scout visited the same club, spoke briefly with a man in a suit, then disappeared into an alley. We follow this path carefully. And we wait for the right opportunity, she explained. Bruno listened intently, understanding that this wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. For the first time, Bruno shared a secret he had kept hidden. The thugs, they didn't just attack me. They were testing me, seeing how far I'd go. I think Marcus Vale has bigger plans and I might be a target for more than revenge. Selena's pulse quickened. This was bigger than they thought. Vale's network wasn't just opportunistic, it was strategic, calculating, dangerous. Selena's mind raced. Then we escalate carefully. We gather proof, expose Vale, and hit him where it hurts, legally, strategically. And we make sure you're never in the same room as him until we're ready. Bruno nodded, feeling both fear and relief. He wasn't alone anymore. Selena was with him, guiding every step. As midnight approached, Selena finalized a plan. Track the scout further, identify all key associates, and coordinate with Detective Clark for a sting operation. Bruno's confidence grew, but so did the danger. Marcus Vale had no idea that his network was being quietly dismantled, and Selena knew that the next move would determine everything. The night outside whispered promises of danger and opportunity. Inside, a receptionist and a billionaire's son were no longer just survivors. They were hunters. And somewhere, Marcus Vale was about to realize that the game had changed forever. The streets of Manchester were drenched in rain, neon reflections bouncing off puddles like liquid fire. Selena and Bruno sat quietly in a black SUV parked across from the nightclub where Vale's men were known to gather. The hum of the engine was the only sound as they watched the entrance, waiting for the perfect moment. Selena's phone buzzed with a message from Detective Clark. Back up in position. Proceed carefully. She took a deep breath, checking her gear one last time. Every detail mattered. Angles, exits, escape routes. One slip could undo everything. Bruno glanced at her, eyes wide with both fear and resolve. Are we ready? He whispered. Selena's hand tightened on the steering wheel. Always, she replied, her green eyes burning with focus. The first target appeared, a man in a suit, the same figure from CCTV, stepping out into the alley behind the club. Selena nudged the SUV forward slowly, keeping cover. Bruno's heart pounded in his chest. There he is, he whispered. Selena nodded, signaling Clark's team via encrypted comms. The trap was ready. Selena's hand hovered over the camera button on her phone, recording every movement. The man paused, glancing around, unaware that he was being watched. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind him. A uniformed officer from Clark's team signaling to advance. The scout froze, tension visible in his posture. Bruno swallowed hard, adrenaline flooding through him. Do we confront him now? Selena whispered. Clark's voice came through her earpiece. Not yet. Let him move closer to the rendezvous point. We need all evidence for Vale. Selena nodded. Patience was critical. Any hasty action could ruin everything. The scout finally approached the meeting point, where another man in a hood was waiting. Selena's heart raced. This was the connection they had been tracking, the first tangible link to Marcus Vale's network. Clark's team moved in silently, encircling the men without alerting them. Selena's phone camera captured every movement, the whispered conversation, the exchange of a small package, the subtle gestures that marked trust between gang members. Bruno watched, wide-eyed. We've got them, he whispered. Selena nodded. whispering back, "Not yet. Wait for the signal." Suddenly, one of the scouts sensed something. He turned sharply, catching a glimpse of the SUV. Selena held her breath, heart pounding. Clark's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Now." In an instant, officers moved with precision, surrounding the scouts and seizing the package. The first strike was executed flawlessly. Bruno exhaled, relief washing over him. "We did it," he whispered. Selena kept her eyes on the scene, not letting her guard down. This was only the first move. Marcus Vale would react, and when he did, they needed to be ready. The first piece of the puzzle was secured: the evidence, the scouts, and a foothold in Vale's network. Selena knew the path ahead was still dangerous, but this victory proved that careful planning, patience, and courage could shift the balance. As the rain fell softly, washing the city streets, Selena whispered to Bruno, "This is just the beginning. We've got them off balance. Now we prepare for Vale's next move." Bruno nodded, his resolve solidifying. Together, they were no longer victims. They were hunters, and the hunt had only just begun. The night in Manchester had a restless pulse. Rain pattered lightly against the windows of the Sinclair Hotel as Selena and Bruno reviewed the footage of their first successful strike. The atmosphere was tense, the thrill of victory tempered by the awareness that Vale would respond, and soon. Selena's phone buzzed with an encrypted message. "They know. Vale is moving tonight." Her pulse quickened. Marcus Vale was not the kind to let an affront go unanswered. His network was vast, cunning, and ruthless. Selena glanced at Bruno, whose face showed both fear and determination. "We need to anticipate him," she said firmly. Minutes later, the first sign of retaliation appeared, a luxury black SUV cruising slowly past the hotel, lights dimmed, movements deliberate. Selena watched from the rooftop, binoculars in hand. Shadows shifted inside the car, hinting at armed men surveying their target. She knew this was just the beginning. Bruno's voice trembled. "They're here, watching us." Selena placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder.
"Yes.
"And that's why we move first. We don't wait for them to act. We set the terms." Clark's voice came through her earpiece. "We've got units in position. Any move you make will have support." Vale's retaliation began subtly. That night, the hotel's delivery service was infiltrated, a package left for Bruno, seemingly harmless, but containing a hidden camera. Selena spotted it immediately while reviewing the logs. Marcus Vale was sending a message. They were being watched, every move recorded. Bruno clenched his fists. "So, it's going to be like this non-stop?" Selena nodded.
"Yes.
"But it also shows us something important. They're sloppy in arrogance. That gives us opportunities." She quickly disabled the device and recorded its specifications. Every detail could be used against Vale. Hours later, a second message arrived, this time directly aimed at Bruno, a video showing the scout from the first strike, beaten and tied, a warning etched in every frame. Selena's jaw tightened. "This is psychological warfare," she said. "Vale wants fear. He wants mistakes. We don't give him either." Bruno swallowed hard but nodded. The fear was real, but trust in Selena and Clark gave him a backbone. Selena mapped out Vale's possible moves on a city grid, noting alleys, known hangouts, and surveillance blind spots. "If they escalate tonight, we know where to intercept," she explained. Bruno leaned in, absorbing every detail. The strategy wasn't just reaction, it was anticipation. And in this game, anticipation meant survival. Late into the night, shadows moved outside the hotel. Vale's men tested the perimeter, probing for weakness. Selena and Clark coordinated quietly, using the surveillance cameras to track their patrols. Every movement was logged, every step predicted. It was a deadly chess game, and Selena had to stay 3 steps ahead. As dawn approached, the first retaliation had passed, leaving a lingering sense of dread. Vale had made his presence known, but Selena had turned his aggression into intelligence. Bruno realized for the first time that survival wasn't just about hiding, it was about strategy, precision, and courage. The hotel's security room buzzed with tension. Selina and Detective Clark reviewed footage of the past 48 hours, piecing together every movement, every interaction. Bruno sat nearby, observing silently, his bruised face pale but determined. The plan they were about to execute was risky, but it was the only way to gain the upper hand. Selina tapped her finger on a map of Manchester, tracing routes the scouts frequently used. "If we predict their path, we can control the encounter," she explained. Clark nodded, impressed by her analytical precision. "We'll need backup at key points," he said. "Timing will be everything. One mistake and they could disappear or worse, attack." Bruno's voice was quiet but resolute. "I want to be involved. I need to see this through." Selina glanced at him, green eyes sharp. "You'll be safe. You watch and guide from here. We strike only when the trap is ready. Your role is crucial, but survival is first." Bruno nodded reluctantly, trusting her judgment. Selina coordinated with Clark to place officers in strategic positions, rooftops, alley entrances, and side streets. Every angle had a line of sight, every potential escape route covered. They weren't just waiting, they were orchestrating a high-stakes sting, a calculated risk to draw Vale's men into their net. To bait the trap, Selina planned a delivery, an innocuous package left near the scouts' usual hangout. Inside, small recording devices would provide evidence and lure Vale's men into believing they could intercept a critical item. Clark checked every detail. "If they take it, we move in. Precision timing. No heroics." Selina agreed, heart racing. Hours passed in tense silence. The city outside was alive with rain and neon lights, but inside, every second stretched. Selina monitored the streets via a laptop, her eyes scanning every shadow. Then, finally, movement. A figure approached the bait, cautious but curious. Clark's voice was low in her earpiece. "They're taking it.
Now."
The scouts moved with precision, unaware that officers waited hidden nearby. Selina held her breath, adrenaline surging. Every movement was captured, every detail logged. The trap had worked, the first tangible step toward exposing Vale's network completely. Bruno leaned forward, whispering, "It's working, we've got them." Selina kept her gaze locked on the screens. "Not yet. Wait for them to follow the path we predicted. This is the real test." Outside, Vale's men began to move, following the bait as intended, unaware they were walking into a meticulously planned sting. The night was tense, every second a potential disaster. But for the first time, Selina felt the power of control, the ability to turn fear into strategy, chaos into opportunity. Bruno watched, awe and respect mixing with anxiety. This was no longer just a game of survival, it was a battle of wits, precision, and courage. As the scouts neared the final point of the trap, Clark whispered in Selina's earpiece, "Prepare for engagement. This is it." Her fingers hovered over the controls, heart racing. The sting was about to unfold, and the balance of power was about to shift dramatically. Rain-slicked Manchester streets reflected neon lights like liquid fire as the scouts followed the bait package, unaware they were walking into a meticulously prepared trap. Selina's hands hovered over her laptop controls, her pulse racing. Every movement was visible on the CCTV monitors, every shadow accounted for. Clark whispered through the earpiece, "Positions confirmed. Move on my mark." Selina nodded, barely breathing, eyes glued to the screens. The scouts passed alleyways and side streets, exactly the path they had predicted. Bruno, seated beside Selina, gripped the armrest tightly. "They're going to get caught," he whispered. "I just hope it's clean." As the scouts neared the final point, uniformed officers emerged from hidden positions, surrounding the men with precision. Commands were shouted, hands raised, weapons trained, but restrained. The first strike was about to unfold, and Selina's heart pounded in anticipation. The scouts froze, panic flashing in their eyes. One tried to flee, but Clark's team moved faster, cutting off escape routes. Selina captured every moment on camera, documenting the evidence that would link Vale's network directly to criminal activity. The tension in the alley was electric, danger and strategy colliding in perfect timing. Bruno whispered, almost breathless. "It's working, we've got them." Selena didn't respond verbally. Her focus was absolute. Every second mattered. The scouts realized too late that they were trapped, and the trap's precision ensured no harm came to civilians or unintended targets. Clark moved in to secure the final detainee, ensuring every piece of evidence was preserved. Selena recorded the scene meticulously, knowing this would be key to bringing Vale himself to justice. The streets, slick and empty, bore witness to a quiet victory, strategic and surgical, not chaotic. As the scouts were escorted into police vehicles, Selena and Bruno watched silently from the SUV. The adrenaline slowly ebbed, replaced by a mix of relief and anticipation. Vale's network had been struck, but Selena knew this was only the beginning. Marcus Vale would respond, and the next encounter could be far more dangerous. Bruno finally exhaled, leaning back in his seat. "I can't believe it actually worked." Selena placed a hand on his shoulder. "It worked because we were smart. But Vale will escalate. That's why we need to stay alert. The real challenge is yet to come." The first strike had succeeded. The scouts were captured, the network disrupted, and a foothold gained. Yet Manchester's night whispered a warning. Marcus Vale would retaliate, and the next move would determine everything. Selena and Bruno had proven they could act, but survival depended on foresight, courage, and trust. The morning sun struggled to pierce Manchester's gray skies, but inside the Sinclair Hotel, tension was thicker than any storm outside. Selena monitored the city through CCTV feeds, but unease gnawed at her. Marcus Vale was smart, ruthless, and predictable only in his unpredictability. The first strike against his scouts had not gone unnoticed. Bruno, seated nearby, felt the weight of anticipation. "He's going to come for us, isn't he?" he asked quietly. Selena's green eyes were sharp and unwavering.
"Yes."
"But we're ready. We predicted this moment. We just need to stay one step ahead." By late afternoon, the first sign of Vale's counterattack arrived, a sleek black motorcycle weaving through city traffic, carrying one of Vale's lieutenants. Selena spotted it immediately on the monitors, tracing its route as it approached the hotel. "He's testing us," she murmured, "seeing how fast we react." Clark's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Engage with caution. He's scouting, not striking yet." Selena coordinated silently with hotel security, ensuring all entrances were monitored. The tension in the room was palpable. Bruno's hand trembled slightly as he gripped the armrest. Realizing Vale's retaliation was no longer a distant threat, it was immediate. Then the strike escalated. A car screeched around the corner, barreling toward the hotel's delivery entrance. Selena and Clark's coordinated response was instant, officers intercepting the vehicle, but not before a warning shot shattered the glass near the door. The message was clear. Vale was willing to kill. Bruno's face paled. "He's not playing games," Selena's jaw tightened. "No, he isn't. But he's revealing himself, showing his hand. That gives us an advantage if we act carefully." She traced potential escape routes on the monitor, predicting Vale's next moves before they even happened. Night fell again, and Vale's personal strike team moved into position around the hotel. Selena spotted them, shadowy figures positioning themselves strategically, ready for infiltration. Clark relayed officer positions silently through earpiece. Every detail mattered. Every second could mean life or death. Bruno whispered, "They're surrounding us, what do we do?" Selena's eyes flashed with determination. "We don't wait. We confront them, but on our terms. You stay here, I'll handle the streets. Trust me." Bruno nodded, heart pounding, realizing just how much he relied on her courage and strategy. Selena moved to the rooftop, positioning herself with binoculars and a radio. From above, she could see every movement, anticipate every strike, and coordinate the response. Vale's men began probing the hotel perimeter, but Selena was always a step ahead, turning their aggression into intelligence. Hours later, the confrontation escalated. One of Vale's lieutenants attempted to breach a side entrance. Selena, in coordination with Clark, intercepted him with precision. The fight was brief but tense. The lieutenant was subdued and detained. This victory, however small, sent a message. Selena and Bruno were no longer passive targets. They were proactive hunters. As the night quieted, Selena returned to the security room, Bruno watching her every move. "We survived tonight, but I know he'll escalate again," he murmured. Selena nodded, green eyes sharp.
Yes.
"But every move he makes gives us information. Every attack brings us closer to him. We're ready for the next step." The city was dark, Manchester's streets empty, but the storm of tension inside the Sinclair Hotel was palpable. Selena crouched behind the security desk, eyes darting across monitors showing multiple points of entry. The night had brought Vale's retaliation into full force. Shadows moved around the perimeter. Armed men, methodical and patient, circling like predators. Bruno leaned against a wall nearby, fists clenched. "They're going to break in. I can feel it," he whispered. Selena's green eyes narrowed. "Then we make sure they regret it. Stay close, follow my instructions, and keep calm. This is the moment we've trained for." The first attempt came from the west entrance, a loud crash as a door splintered under force. Selena quickly coordinated with Clark over the earpiece, directing officers into position to intercept. Every hallway and staircase had been pre-mapped for defense. This was no longer a game of shadows. It was a full-scale siege. Bruno's heart raced as gunfire echoed through the hallways. He followed Selena's instructions to the letter, guiding guests to safety while she coordinated the defense. Her voice was calm but commanding, cutting through the chaos like steel. "Hallway clear. Redirect to stairs B.
Now."
Meanwhile, Selena accessed the hotel's rooftop cameras and realized another squad of Vale's men was approaching from the north. She relayed instructions to Clark. Intercept before they reached the lobby. Every second counted, every movement was critical. The siege was testing their nerves, their coordination, and their courage. A sudden explosion rocked the lobby, sending a shower of debris into the air. Selena ducked behind the desk, heart pounding. Clark's voice was urgent but steady. "They're trying to split our defense. Hold your positions. We've got this." Bruno's pulse surged. He was scared, but fear sharpened his instincts, making him a vital partner in the defense. Selena initiated a lockdown protocol, securing all exits while coordinating with Clark to funnel Vale's men into containment zones. The tide was slowly turning. The intruders' aggression was precise, but predictable in patterns Selena had studied. Every strike they made revealed their strategy, which she could now exploit. Hours passed in tense silence punctuated by gunfire, shouting, and the occasional crash. Bruno moved like a shadow beside Selena, relaying critical updates, his fear tempered by focus. He realized that survival wasn't about hiding, it was about adapting, anticipating, and trusting Selena's guidance. Finally, with careful coordination, Clark's team and Selena funneled the remaining attackers into a controlled zone. Officers swiftly neutralized the threat. The hotel, though battered, remained secure. Selena exhaled, green eyes sharp despite exhaustion. Bruno leaned heavily against her shoulder. "We survived," he whispered. The night siege was over, but Selena knew this victory came at a cost. Marcus Vale had now escalated fully, revealing the depth of his ambition and ruthlessness. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The morning after the night siege was eerily quiet. Manchester's streets glistened from rain, the city appearing almost serene compared to the chaos inside the Sinclair Hotel just hours before. Selena sat at the security desk, eyes scanning footage from the siege, replaying every move Vale's men had made. Something didn't sit right. There was a pattern she hadn't noticed before. Bruno approached cautiously, still bruised but alert. "Finding something?" he asked. Selena's green eyes gleamed with focus.
"Yes."
"Watch this." She highlighted the movements of Vale's lieutenants during the siege. Certain streets and buildings were consistently circled, especially a warehouse near the docks. "They're planning something bigger. Not just attacks, they're preparing for a major move." Detective Clark's voice came through the earpiece. "Warehouse at Dockside 14? That's known for storing unregistered vehicles and contraband. Vale could be planning an escape or a hit." Selena's mind raced. If they moved quickly, they could intercept and potentially capture Vale himself. Bruno's eyes widened. So, we can finally end this? Selena quickly devised a plan. Use the warehouse as bait. They would set up a controlled perimeter with Clark's team, lure Vale's lieutenants in, and catch him off guard if he showed himself. Timing was everything. Every delay could let Vale slip through their fingers. Hours later, Selena, Bruno, and Clark surveyed the warehouse from a hidden rooftop. Containers and shipping crates cast long shadows in the dim light. Officers quietly moved into position, surrounding possible exit points. The tension was thick. Each second weighted with danger. Selena's phone buzzed. Footage from a hidden camera inside the warehouse showed activity. Vale's lieutenants moving crates, discussing something urgent. Their hands gestured wildly, voices low but urgent. Selena recognized the patterns from the earlier siege: coordination, precision, and arrogance. They were confident Vale's plan would succeed. Bruno swallowed hard. This is it, we finally see what they're up to. Selena's jaw tightened.
Yes.
And we need to be ready for anything. If Vale himself appears, it could be dangerous. But this is our chance to stop him before more people get hurt. Minutes passed like hours. The lieutenants continued their work, unaware that the perimeter was fully secured. Selena quietly relayed instructions to Clark's team: hold position, monitor for Vale, and wait for the perfect moment. This operation was precise, no mistakes allowed. Finally, a shadow appeared, a tall figure in a tailored suit, walking confidently toward the warehouse. Selena's breath caught. Marcus Vale himself. Bruno's eyes widened in shock and fear. Selena whispered, almost to herself, "This is it. Everything leads to this moment." The dockside warehouse was bathed in dim orange lights, shadows stretching across shipping containers. Selena crouched behind a stack of crates, binoculars pressed to her eyes. Bruno was beside her, muscles tense, knuckles white around the grip of his jacket. This was it. The moment they had been preparing for, the confrontation that could end everything. Marcus Vale's silhouette moved confidently across the yard, flanked by two heavily armed lieutenants. His presence radiated control and menace, the kind that demanded obedience. Selena's green eyes narrowed. "Stay calm, Bruno. We've planned for this. Remember the perimeter and the contingencies." Bruno swallowed hard. I can do this. I'm ready." Selena gave him a firm nod. "Good. Stay focused. You're our eyes inside. If anything goes wrong." Clark's team is in position. We wait for my signal. Vale stopped near the crates, his sharp gaze scanning the surroundings. He had no idea that officers were hidden in every potential escape route. Selena's pulse raced as she whispered into the radio, "Hold positions. Wait for my mark." Every second felt stretched, each movement critical. Suddenly, one of Vale's lieutenants noticed a faint movement, a reflection in the water puddles from earlier rain. "Boss, someone's watching us," he muttered. Vale's eyes darted, sharp as a predator. "Check the perimeter." "Nothing gets past me," he ordered. Selena's heartbeat thundered. This was the most dangerous moment. Detection could mean disaster. Selena tapped her earpiece. "Mark. Now." Clark's team moved with precision, emerging from hiding spots, cornering Vale and his lieutenants. Flashlights cut through the shadows, voices commanding surrender. The atmosphere exploded with tension. Vale's confidence now met with unexpected force. Vale's expression hardened. "So, this is how it ends," he sneered. One of the lieutenants reached for a weapon, but Selena anticipated the move, signaling Clark's team to neutralize it. The fight was controlled but tense, every move a test of skill and nerve. Bruno's hands shook slightly, but he stayed focused, relaying observations through the radio, guiding Selena and Clark in real time. He spotted a hidden exit Vale might try and shouted the warning just in time. Clark's team blocked it, trapping Vale in a precise perimeter. Finally, with no options left, Vale raised his hands in reluctant surrender. Selena stepped forward, voice steady and commanding. "Marcus Vale, you're done. Every move, every attack, Every life you threatened, it ends here. Bruno exhaled, relief flooding through him. Clark cuffed Vale, securing the evidence and detainees. The operation was over, strategic, precise, and clean. Bruno finally felt the weight lift from his shoulders. Selina placed a hand on his, offering a silent reassurance. Together, they had survived, and justice had been served. As dawn broke over Manchester, the warehouse yard was quiet. The storm of chaos had passed, leaving victory, relief, and the satisfaction of justice served. Selina and Bruno knew the fight had tested them in ways unimaginable, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond. The streets of Manchester were calm, almost deceptively peaceful, as Selina and Bruno walked through the quiet hotel lobby. The storm of the past nights felt like a distant memory, though the bruises on Bruno's face and the exhaustion in Selina's eyes told a different story. The Sinclair Hotel had survived, the city had survived, and Marcus Vale was behind bars. Bruno exhaled, voice soft. I still can't believe it. We actually did it. We stopped him. Selina glanced at him, green eyes warm but reflective. We did, but it wasn't just luck. It was courage, strategy, and trust. And you played a big part. Never forget that. Detective Clark approached, offering a rare smile. Vale won't be terrorizing anyone again. You two were extraordinary. The way you coordinated and handled yourselves, most professionals couldn't have done better. Selina nodded, grateful but humble. We couldn't have done it without the team. Clark's gaze lingered on Bruno. And you, unexpectedly brave. Don't underestimate yourself. Later, Selina and Bruno found a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. The skyline stretched endlessly, sunlight glinting off glass buildings. The adrenaline had faded, replaced by the weight of everything they had endured. Silence hung between them for a moment, comfortable yet heavy. Bruno broke the silence. I was terrified, but I felt stronger with you guiding me. Selina smiled faintly, placing a hand on his. Fear isn't weakness. It's what makes courage matter. You faced it, and you didn't falter. That's growth. They reflected on the nights of chaos, the dangers, and the personal challenges they had overcome. The experience had changed them both. Bruno gained confidence and resilience, Selina a deeper sense of purpose and connection. The bond between them had grown beyond trust. It had become an unspoken understanding, forged in fire. Selina turned her gaze back to the city. Marcus Vale's gone, but the world will always have threats. What matters is how we respond, how we act. Courage isn't about never being afraid, it's about moving forward despite it. Bruno nodded, absorbing her words, feeling both the weight and inspiration of their journey. As they descended the rooftop, the morning air was fresh, the city alive and unaware of the battle that had raged within it. Selina and Bruno stepped into the light together, ready to face whatever came next, changed but unbroken. The morning sun bathed Manchester in gold, the city alive with the hum of everyday life. Selina and Bruno stood outside the Sinclair Hotel, watching the streets they had fought to protect. The scars of the past weeks, bruises, exhaustion, fear, were fading, leaving strength, resilience, and a quiet sense of accomplishment. Bruno glanced at Selina, a small smile breaking through his weariness. I never imagined I'd be part of something like this, or that I could be brave. Selina returned the smile, her green eyes soft yet strong. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, keep going. You listened and you acted. That's real bravery. Detective Clark approached, handing Selina a folder containing all the final evidence against Marcus Vale. Everything is sealed. Justice is done, he said. Selina nodded, relief washing over her. It's not just justice, it's hope. For the city, for everyone he threatened. As they walked through the streets of Manchester, the rhythm of life seemed almost magical, streetlights glimmering, cafes opening, people laughing, unaware of the danger that had lurked nearby. Selina turned to Bruno. The world will always have challenges. But it's what we do in those moments that defines us. You've learned that. I've learned that. And together, we're stronger. Bruno's eyes reflected determination. So, what now? Selena paused, letting the weight of their journey settle. Now, we live. We protect where we can, we act when it matters, and we don't forget what we're capable of. Life doesn't stop after danger. It begins again, stronger than before. The camera pans out over the city as their voices fade into voiceover. Every challenge we face shapes us. Every fear we conquer strengthens us. Bruno and I survived because we acted, because we trusted, because we refused to give up. And that's a choice we all have. What about you? Will you wait for life to happen, or will you step forward, take action, and face your challenges head-on? The next move is yours. Be brave, be relentless, and don't let fear hold you back.